Shalom. Shabbat Shalom again. We are going to read Amos um, and the HalleluYah scriptures. Okay, thank you for joining me. Let's get right into it. Amos. Um, let's see. It has 9 chapters, so I definitely should be able to read it all. Okay, so chapter 1, the words of Amos, who was among the herdsmen of Tekoa, which he saw concerning Israel in the days of Uzziah, sovereign of Yehudah, in the days of Jeroboam, son of Joash, sovereign of Israel, 2 years before the earthquake. And he said, 2 years before the earthquake. Okay. And he said, Yah roars from Zion and gives forth his voice from Jerusalem, and the pastures of the shepherds shall mourn, and the top of Carmel shall wither. Thus said Yah, for three transgressions of Damascus, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because they thresh Gilead with threshing implements of iron. But I shall send fire upon the house of Hazael, and it shall consume the palaces of Ben-Hadad. And I shall break the bar of Damascus, and cut off the inhabitant from the valley of Awen, and the one who holds the scepter from Beth Eden, and the people of Aram shall go exiled to Kir, said Yah. Thus said Yah, for 3 transgressions of Azah, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because they take into exile an entire exile, to surrender it to Edom. But I shall send fire among the wall of Azah, and it shall consume its palaces, and I shall cut off the inhabitant of Ashdod, and the one who holds the scepter from Ashkelon. And I shall turn my hand against Ekron, and the remnant of the Pelethites shall perish, said the Adon Yah. Thus said Yah, for 3 transgressions of Sor, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because they surrendered an entire exile to Edom, and did not remember the brotherly covenant. But I shall send fire upon the wall of Sor, and it shall consume its palaces. Thus said Yah, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because he pursued his brother with the sword, and cast off all compassion, and his displeasure toward incessantly, and he kept his wrath forever. But I shall send fire upon Teman, and it shall consume the palaces of Batsra. Thus said Yah, for 3 transgressions of the children of Ammon, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because they ripped open the pregnant women in Gilead. Wow. To enlarge their border. So I shall kindle a fire upon the wall of Rabbah, and it shall consume its palaces, with a shout in the day of battle, with a storm in the day of the whirlwind. And their sovereign shall go into exile, he and his heads together, said Yah. Thus said Yah, for 3 chapter 2. Thus said Yah, for 3 transgressions of Moab, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because he burned the bones of the sovereign of Edom to lime. But I shall send fire upon Moab, and it shall consume the palaces of Kiriath, and Moab shall die amid uproar, with a cry, and with the sound of the ram's horn. And I shall cut off the judge from its midst, and slay all its heads with him, says Yah. Thus said Yah, for 3 transgressions of Yehudah, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because they have rejected the Torah of Yah, and did not guard his laws, and their lies, after which their fathers walked, led them astray. But I shall send fire upon Yehudah, and it shall consume the palaces of Jerusalem. Thus says Yah, for 3 transgressions of Yasharel, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because they sell the righteous for silver, and the poor for a pair of sandals. Who crush the head of the poor ones in the dust of the earth, and turn aside the way of the meek. And a man and his father go in the same girl to defile my Kadesh name. And they lie down by every altar on garments taken in pledge, and in the house of their mighty one they drink the wine of those who have been fined. Yet I destroyed the Amorite before them, whose height was like the height of the cedars, and he was as strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit from above, and his roots from beneath. And I brought you up from the land of Mitzrayim, and led you 40 years through the wilderness to possess the land of the Amorite. And I raised up some of your sons as Nebim, and some of your young men as Nazarites. Not so, O you children of Yasharel, declares Yah. And I raised up some of your sons as Nebim, and some of your young men as Nazarites. Not so, O you children of Yasharel, declares Yah. But you made the Nazarites to drink wine, and commanded the Nebim, saying, Do not nabah. Say, see, I am weighed down by you, as a wagon is weighed down when filled with sheaves. And a place to flee shall perish from the swift, and the strong not strengthen his power, and the mighty not save his life. And he who handles the bow not stand, and the swift of the feet not save, nor he who rides a horse save his life. And the bravest among the mighty flee naked in that day, declares Yah. Hear the word, chapter 3, hear the word of Yah. Hear the word that Yah has spoken against you, O children of Yasharel, against the entire clan which I brought up from the land of Mitzrayim, saying, You alone have I known of all the clans of the earth. Therefore I punish you for all your wickednesses. Would 2 walk together without having met? Does a lion roar in the forest when he has no prey? Does a young lion give forth his voice out of his den unless he is caught? Does a bird fall into a snare on the earth where there is no trap for it? Does a snare spring up from the earth if it has not captured prey? If a ram's horn is blown in the city, do the people not tremble? If there is calamity in a city, shall not Yah have done it? For the Adon Yah does no matter unless he reveals his secret to his servants, the Nebim. For the Adon Yah does no matter unless he reveals his secret to his servants, the Nebim. A lion has roared. Who is not afraid? The Adon Yah has spoken. Who would not nabah? Cry out at the palaces in Ashdod, and at the palaces in the land of Mitzrayim, and say, Gather on the mountains of the Shemaran, and see the many unrests in her midst, and the oppressed ones within her. But they do not know to do what is right, declares Yah. These who store up plunder and loot in their palaces. Therefore, thus says the Adon Yah, an enemy even all around the land. And he shall bring down your strength from you, and your palaces shall be plundered. Thus says Yah, as a shepherd rescues from the mouth of a lion 2 legs or a piece of an ear, so are the children of Yasharel who dwell in Shamaran to be rescued, in the corner of a bed, and in Damasek on a couch. Hear and witness against the house of Yaakov, declares the Adon Yah, the Elohim of hosts. For in the day I visit Yasharel for their transgressions, I shall also punish concerning the altars of Bethel, and the horns of the altar shall be broken, and they shall fall to the ground. And I shall smite the winter house along with the summer house, and the houses of ivory shall perish, and great houses shall be swept away, declares Yah. Chapter 4. Hear the word, you cows of Bashan, who are on the mountain of Shomeron, who are oppressing the poor, who are crushing the needy, who are saying to their masters, bring wine, let us drink. The Adonai has sworn by his Kodashai. See, the days are coming upon you when he shall take you away with hooks, and your descendants with fish hooks, and let you go out at the breaches, each woman before her, and you shall be cast out toward Harmon, declares Yah. Come to Bethel and transgress, to Gilgal increase transgression, and bring your slaughterings every morning, your tithes every 3 days, and burn an offering of thanksgiving with leaven, and proclaim voluntary offerings loudly. For you have loved this, you children of Yasharel, declares the Adonai. And I also gave you cleanness of teeth in all your cities, and lack of bread in all your places. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yah. And I also withheld rain from you 3 months before the harvest. Then I would send rain on one city, and on another city I would not send rain. One part has rained upon where it did not rain, the part would dry up. Then 2 or 3 cities would wander to another city to drink water, but they were not satisfied. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yah. I have smitten you with blight and with mildew. The creeping locust devoured your many gardens and your vineyards and your fig trees and your olive trees. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yah. I have sent among you a plague in the way of Mitzrayim. I have slain your young men with a sword, along with your captured horses, and I made the stench of your camps come up into your nostrils, but you did not turn back to me, declares Yah. I have overthrown some of you as Elohim overthrew Sodom and Amorrah, and you were like a firebrand plucked from the burning, but you did not turn back to me, declares Yah. Therefore I am doing this to you, O Yasharel, and because I do this to you, prepare to meet your Elohim, O Yasharel. For look, he who forms mountains and creates the wind, and who declares to man what his thought is, and makes the morning darkness, and who treads the high places of the earth, Yah Elohim of hosts is his name. Chapter 5. Hear the word which I take up against you, this lamentation, O house of Yasharel. The maiden of Yasharel has fallen, not to rise again. She lies forsaken on her land, with no one to lift her up. For thus says the Adonai, the city that goes out by 1,000 has 100 left, and that which goes out by 100 has 10 left to the house of Yasharel. For thus says Yah to the house of Yasharel, seek me and live, but do not seek Bethel, nor enter Gilgal, nor pass over the Beersheba, for Gilgal shall certainly go into exile, and Bethel come to naught. Seek Yah and live, lest he break out like fire upon the house of Joseph, and shall consume it, and no one to quench it in Bethel. O you who are turning right ruling to wormwood, and have cast down righteousness to the earth, he who made Kema and Kesel, and who turns the shadow of death into morning, and darkened day into night, who is calling for the waters of the sea and pours them out on the face of the earth. Yah is his name. Who is flashing forth destruction upon the strong, so the destruction comes upon the stronghold. They hated the one who reproves in the gate, and they despise the one who speaks the truth. Therefore, because you trample on the poor and take grain taxes from him, you have built houses of hewn stone, but you are not going to dwell in them. You have planted pleasant vineyards, but do not drink wine from them. For I know your transgressions, and many and Your transgressions are many, and your sins are great, afflicting the righteous and accepting bribes and turning aside the poor at the gate. Therefore, the wise keep silent at that time, for it is an evil time. Seek good and not evil, so that you live. And let Yah Elohim of hosts be with you, as you have spoken. Hate evil and love good, and establish right ruling in the gate. It might be that Yah Elohim of hosts shows favor to the remnant of Yosef. Therefore, Yah Elohim of hosts, Yah said this: there is wailing in all open squares, and in all streets they say, Alas, alas, and shall call the farmer to mourning, and skilled lamenters to wailing. And in all vineyards there is a wailing, and I passed through your midst, for I passed through your midst, says Yah. Woe to you who are longing for the day of Yah. What does the day of Yah mean to you? It is darkness and not light, as when a man flees from a lion and a bear shall meet him, or entered his house, rested his hand on the wall, and a serpent shall bite him. Is not the day of Yah darkness and not light? Is it not very dark with no brightness in it? I have hated and I have despised your festivals, and I am not pleased with your assemblies. Though you offer me burnt offerings and your grain offerings, I do not accept them, nor do I look on your fattened peace offerings. Take away from me the noise of your songs, for I do not hear the sound of your stringed instruments. And let right ruling roll on like water, and righteousness like a mighty stream. You brought me slaughterings and meal offerings in the wilderness for 40 years. O house of Yasharel, but you took up Sikkoth, your sovereign, and Kiyon, your idols, and your astral mighty ones, which you made for yourselves. Therefore I shall send you into exile beyond Damascus, said Yah Elohim of hosts, his name. Chapter 6. Woe to those at ease in Zion, and those trusting in Mount Shimron, the distinguished ones among the chief of the nations, to whom the house of Yisrael comes. Pass over the Kalna and see, and from there go to Hamath the great. Then go down to Gath of the Pelishtites. Are you better than these reigns? Or is their border greater than your border? You who are putting off the day of evil, yet bring near the seat of violence, who are lying on beds of ivory, and are stretched out on your couches, and are eating lambs from the flock of calves from the midst of the stall, who sing idly to the sound of the harp, having compose songs for themselves like Dawid, who are drinking wine from bowls and anoint with the finest ointments, yet they have not grieved over the breach of Joseph. Therefore they shall now go into exile with the first of the exiles, and the feasting of the stretched out ones shall cease. The Adon Yah has sworn by himself. Yah Elohim of hosts declares, I am loathing the pride of Yaakov, and I have hated his palaces. Therefore I shall deliver up the city and all that is in it. And it shall be that if 10 men remain in one house, they shall die. And if a relative or his undertaker brings the remains out of the house, he shall say to one inside the house, Is anyone with you? And he says, No. Then he shall say, Hush, for we have not remembered the name of Yah. For look, Yah is commanding, and he shall smite the great house with the breaches, and the little house with clefts. Do horses run on a rock? Does one plow it with oxen? For you have turned right ruling into poison, and the fruit of righteousness into wormwood. You who are rejoicing over a matter of naught, who say, Have we not taken horns for ourselves? by our own strength. For look, I am raising up a nation against you, O house of Yashar, declares Yah Elohim of hosts, and they shall oppress you from the entrance of Hamath to the Wadi Araba. Chapter 7. This is what the Adonai showed me, and see, he was forming locust swarms at the beginning of the late crop, and see, it was the late crop after the mowings of the sovereign. And it came to be when they had finished eating the grass of the land, and I said, O Adonai, Yah, forgive, I pray. How does Jacob survive? And he is small, for he is small. Yah relented concerning this. It shall not be, said Yah. This is what the Adon showed me. And see, the Adon was calling to contend by fire, and it consumed the great deep and devoured the portion. And I said, O Adonai, Yah, please stop. How does Jacob survive? For he is small. Yah relented concerning this. This shall not be either, said the Adon Yah. This is what he showed me. And see, Yah stood on a wall made with a plumb line in his hand. And Yah said to me, Amos, what do you see? And I said, a plumb line. And Yah said, see, I am putting a plumb line in the midst of my people, Yashrael. No longer do I pardon them. And the high places of Yitzchak shall be laid waste, and the Mikdashim of Yashrael shall be destroyed, and I shall rise with the sword against the house of Jeroboam. And then Atzmaiah, the Kohen of Bethel, sent to Jeroboam, sovereign of Yashrael, saying, Amos has conspired against you in the midst of the house of Yashrael. The land is not able to endure for all his words. For this is what Amos said, Jeroboam shall die by the sword, and Yashrael certainly be exiled from their own land. And Amaziah said to Amos, go, you seer, flee to the land of Yehudah, and eat bread and Nabah there. But do not Nabah any more at Bethel, for it is the sovereign's Mikdash, and it is the house of the rain. And Amos answered and said to Amaziah, I am not a Nabah, nor am I a son of a Nabah, for I am a herdsman and a grower of sycamore figs. But Yah took me from behind the flock, and Yah said to me, go Nabah to my people Yashrael. And now hear the word of Yah. You are saying, do not Nabah against Yashrael, and do not preach against the house of Yitzchak. Therefore, thus says Yah, your wife shall become a whore in the city, and your sons and daughters fall by the sword, and your land be divided by the measuring line, and you die in a defiled land. And Yasharel shall certainly be exiled from its land. Chapter 8. This is what the Adon showed me, and see, a basket of summer fruit. And he said, Amos, what do you see? And I said, a basket of summer fruit. And Yah said to me, the end has come upon my people Yasharel. No longer do I pardon them. And the songs of the haiku shall be wailing in that day, declares the Adon Yah. Many dead bodies everywhere, thrown into any place. Hush. Hear this, you who are swallowing up the needy, to do away with the poor of the land, saying, when does the new moon pass, so that we sell grain, and the Sabbath, so that we trade our wheat, to make the ephah small and the shekel large, and to falsify the scales by deceit, to buy the poor for silver, and the needy for a pair of sandals, and sell the chaff of the wheat. Yah has sworn by the excellency of Yaakov, I shall never forget any of their works. Shall the land not tremble for this, and everyone mourn who dwells in it? And all of it shall swell like the river Heave, and subdue like the river of Mizraim. And it shall be in that day, declares the Adon Yah, that I shall cause the sun to go down at noon, and shall darken the earth on a day of brightness, and shall turn your festivals into mourning, and all your songs into lamentation, and bring sackcloth on all loins, and baldness on every head, and shall make it like mourning for for an only son, and its end like a like a day of bitterness. See, days are coming, declares the Adon, that I shall send a hunger in the land, not a hunger for bread, nor thirst for water, but for hearing the words of Yah. And they shall wander from sea to sea, from north to east. They shall diligently search, seeking the word of Yah, but they shall not find it. In that day the pretty maidens and strong young men shall faint from thirst, those swearing by the guilt of Shamaron, who say, As your mighty one lives, O Dan, and as the way of Beersheba lives, and they shall fall and never rise again. Chapter 9. I saw Yah standing by the altar, and he said, Smite the column head, so that the thresholds shake, and break them off by the head, all of them. And the last of them I slay with the sword. Not one of them fleeing gets away, and not one fugitive of them escapes. If they dig into the grave, from there my hand takes them. And if they climb up to the Shamahin, from there I bring them down. And if they hide themselves on top of Carmel, from there I shall search and take them. And if they hide from before my eyes at the bottom of the sea, from there I shall command the serpent, and it shall bite them. And if they go into captivity before their enemies, from there I shall command the sword, and it shall slay them. And I shall lay my eyes on them for evil and not for good. And the Adon of hosts is he who touches the earth, so that it melts, and all who dwell in it mourn, and all of it come up like the river, and subdue like the river of Mitzrayim, who was building his upper room in the Shamaim, and has founded his firmament on the earth, who is calling for the waters of the sea, and pours them out on the face of the earth. Yah is his name. Are you not like the people of Cush to me, O children of Yasharel, declares Yah? Did I not bring up Yasharel from the land of Mitzrayim, and the Pelishtites from Captor, and Aram from Ker? Look, the eyes of the Adon Yah are on the sinful reign, and I shall destroy it from the face of the earth, except that I do not completely destroy the house of Yaakov, declares Yah. For look, I am commanding, and I shall sift the house of Yasharel among the Gentiles, as one sifts a sieve, yet not a grain falls to the ground. All the sinners of my people are going to die by the sword. Those who are saying evil does not overtake us, nor meet us. In that day I shall raise up the booth of David, which has fallen down, and I shall repair its breaches and raise up its ruins. And I shall build it as in the days of old, so that they possess the remnant of Edom, and all the Gentiles on whom my name is called, declares Yah, who does this. Look, the days are coming, declares Yah, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes him who sows seed. And the mountains shall drip new wine, and all the hills melt. And I shall turn back the captivity of my people Yasharel, and they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards and drink wine from them, and shall make gardens and eat their fruit. And I shall plant them on their own land, and not uproot them any more from their own land I have given them, said Yah, your Elohim. Okay, thank you for joining me for the reading of Amos. Shabbat Shalom. Blessings.